This is my review of the first half of Jujutsu Kaisen's first season. I wanted to do this like the primal review I did of like the whole part 1, 2, I don't know, season 1, part 2, or whatever the fuck they did for that, I don't know. But where I like went back, rewatched all my videos, and then collected my thoughts further. I'm doing that here. I'm also gonna try to clarify some things because I'll often I record these late, usually after I get off of work, or even if I don't, just because it's quiet at night, you know. And a part of that is that I'm tired, and you know my thoughts aren't as concise. Even with my notes, you know, I don't script everything I'm gonna say. My notes are just bullet points, and I have to try and either come up with what I'm gonna say or try to say things I thought of while I was writing it, and they usually don't come out as well. The other thing is I'm usually working with like a 30-minute time limit on these. And the more I've done these, the more I've found that I have to say about certain things. And so a lot of the time in my videos, I'll go off on tangents early on, and I'll be going kind of slow in the first 20 minutes. And then when I start looking at the clock and I see 25 minutes, 27 minutes, and I see that I still have like a full page of notes, I start, you know, rushing through it. And so if I'm in the middle of a tangent, I don't necessarily, in the middle of saying something and trying to make a point, I don't always make the point very well. I don't always say exactly what I want to say, nor the way that I want to say it. An example would be when I was trying to talk about the teachers versus athletes thing, when I was talking about Nanami's view on his position versus the baker. What I wanted to say was like, athletes are expected to perform the best, whereas teachers are expected to just present the information. They have a very low, or they have a far lower level, far lower standard that they're expected to be at than an athlete. A teacher can be the best, but they aren't going to be paid anymore to be the best, so they don't really have any motivational reason to be the best teacher, whereas an athlete has to be the best. And when I was trying to make that point, I kind of just shit on teachers. I didn't mean to do that. I'm just naturally an asshole, and so that's how it kind of comes off. And I do hold a lot of resentment toward the education system in the United States because I had very bad teachers for a long time. So it's very easy for me to shit on teachers. Now, I did have a few good teachers, like I said, and only one of them really ever impacted me on a personal level, but I don't like hate teachers, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have them in society or that we don't need them. But my point is, like, the information exists with or without teachers. They are just a vehicle to present it, and there are other vehicles that we could use to get that information. So they aren't like necessary. Society could go on without them. They are just a convenient way for information to be delivered to children so that parents obviously don't have to do it throughout the day. Same with, I did make a better point when I was talking about fast food industry. I said you could be the best McDonald's employee in the world, but you won't be paid anymore, and that's because the expectation isn't for you to be the best. The expectation is that you just make the food and get the food to the person, and you keep the kitchen running. You know, if you can take the order, have the food going, and prepare the order all within, you know, 2 minutes by yourself, that's pretty impressive, but they're not going to pay you any more for it. And if you don't do all that, you aren't going to be fired. If you're an athlete and you're not performing to the standard of, you know, whatever you're expected, you will be let go. You aren't going to go anywhere. And that was my point. People in higher positions in society have far more expectations for their performance than someone in the lower rungs of society. Regardless of how valuable you think they are, it's about how much effort they are expected to put in. that was the point I was trying to make, and instead I just kind of shit on teachers like an asshole. And I accept that. I do tend to say stuff like that. I also wanted, I was going to get into like this whole thing about like athletes are the modern day descendants of warriors, because originally you would be the best warrior on the battlefield and you would gain glory and be celebrated at home for being the greatest warrior. And the Greeks started the Olympics so that the warriors didn't have to kill each other to see who was the best. They would just perform in a series of trials, and then that became sports eventually and stuff. I was going to bring all that up and stuff. I was running on like 21 minutes, and I was like, fuck, I got so much. I was only at like the halfway point of the episode, and that's why I kind of panicked and just was an asshole. Now that's out of the way, I can start the review. I bought a lot more space, so now I don't have to worry about a time limit. I can have a fucking 2-hour long video probably, if I wanted to. I can go past 30 minutes now. So what I did is I watched my 13 reviews. I was going to review the special, but the special was just a recap with the voice actor, the seiyuu for Itadori, and the seiyuu for Todo, the big muscular dude that fought Fushiguro and said he likes women with big asses. It was fun. I would recommend anyone watch that just because it's fun to see them talk about the series. The recap stuff doesn't really matter, but they were fun. I would rather than just them talked about it the whole time, honestly. But because it's mostly a recap, I don't really feel the need to make a video for it. There's nothing really to say. I just said my thoughts on it. I enjoyed them talking. Their perspective was interesting. The seiyuu for Itadori said that a lot of times in the script, lines that he reads can have so many interpretations and stuff, and that's something I haven't really noticed, that something someone says can be interpreted in multiple different ways. But that's interesting to say. So on to my thoughts on the season. In the first video, I said that I imagine Itadori's parents were killed by a curse, and that's somehow going to come back up eventually, because that's a very generic thing to happen in shonen. And Jujutsu Kaisen has done a good job of separating itself from tropes and cliches in shonen anime, but I still think this is a big one, because curses are the primary antagonist of the shit. I think his parents probably died to a curse, and he's going to meet it eventually and have to kill it. And I said I didn't really like him too much as a protagonist at first because he's special. I do like him now because him being special no longer is really a factor. It's, he's special among a lot of other special people. Whatever he was born special to be, as long as he wasn't born destined to be the vessel of Sakura, then it's fine. If he still just slipped into that, but he was able to handle it because he was one of the special people in the world, then I accept that. That's fine. I do enjoy his personality, mostly because of the antagonist and how they act and counteract in contradiction to him. And I love Sakura. Sakura is easily my favorite character, and so to have Yuji, this pure-hearted person, and then Sakura just being an evil prick, it's just so great, and they share one body, and it's just great. The only way to improve this series is just to have Sakura talking shit to Itadori constantly throughout an episode. I would love it if Itadori had a fight and Sakura was just talking so much shit and being a condescending dick to him the entire time. That would be hilarious. Still think Jujutsu Kaisen was inspired by Bleach. And I was right about the formula where we would be fighting curses for a while and then start fighting humans. The humans have actually taken a little longer to show up than I thought they would. I still believe Geto is a human, but Mahito, he doesn't really count because he's a curse in the form of a human. But we are going to start fighting human. I've seen the preview for the next thing, and it is indeed like a tournament arc where they're going to be fighting the other school, and the other people are going to be trying to kill Itadori and stuff. He's going to fight Toto and Mai and all them people. So we are going to fight humans. Still don't know if we're going to run into evil humans at any point, other than the like higher ups of the Jujutsu bullshit. But we'll see. The series went at a breakneck speed, and it's just flying through its story, it seems like. I'll touch on that later. Going back to the whole inspired by Bleach thing, though, it definitely just seems so inspired by Bleach. With curses have so many similarities to hollows, and I know that it's not super unique idea, but it really seems like he just took a lot of inspiration from Bleach. I wanted to look his fucking name up. I think it's Gege. G-E-G-E. Maybe it's Gege. I don't know how it would be pronounced in Japanese. But I do want to figure out his name so I no longer have to refer to him as the mangaka. I still think Fushiguro's power sucks ass. I still think he's weak as fuck. And that he's like the least interesting person to watch in a fight. But I guess that is the point. Having watched 13 episodes now, the point is that he's going to grow. I wonder how he's going to grow and what the differences are. I really hope he gets rid of this Shikigami bullshit, because it's just not that interesting. I mean, the ultimate evolution I could see is if he made a fucking stand. I don't, beyond that, I have no idea what the fuck he could do. I just don't care about this. I just want him to find something else to do other than summon animals. It's so lame. Maybe he can summon a suit of armor and then just use that to fight. That would be cool. I still really hope that Itadori dies at the end of the series. People have already wanted to kill him, and I don't see the mangaka dropping that. I think he has to die at the end of the series. But I don't know what it's going to look like when we get there. I don't know if maybe Jujutsu Tech kills Gojo and Nanami and Fushiguro, and he just turns into the ultimate antagonist and takes, melds with Sakuna's power and just starts destroying Japan or something. And then they have to kill him. Or, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to look. I would just I think it's going to go back to the whole thing his grandfather said, die with people around you. I think it's just going to be an emotional thing where he dies, kind of like Assassination Classroom, and Fushiguro and Nobara are there, and they're crying and shit as he dies, and he just accepts his death to destroy Sakuna and save the world. And that'll be him choosing his death. He'll finally have kind of figured that idea out, since he kind of is questioning it now at the end of this season. Or, the first half of this season. And I'm very happy that Gojo didn't die, because I thought for sure he was going to die. But knowing how powerful he isn't dying for a long time, not until they find a way to seal his powers. And even then, I don't think he's going to die, because like I said, we have to see a fight between him and 20-Finger Sakuna in Itadori's body. And I guarantee you, Gojo will have a chance to kill him, but he won't be able to do it because it's Itadori, and he'll be too close to Itadori. He'll have a chance to Infinity Void his fucking heart, and he'll hesitate, and Sakuna will just punch a fucking hand through his chest and pull out his heart or something and crush it. Something like that, and Gojo will just kind of smile and say something cool to Itadori. Itadori will take back control of Sakuna with blood all over his hand, freaking the fuck out, and he'll say something to Itadori. Something like that'll happen, because that's how anime works. And even if Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't meet every trope, they do meet plenty. I said I was really hoping Sakuna wouldn't turn good in the end. I no longer have any qualms about that. Sakuna's definitely never going to be a good person. He is always going to be an evil fucking prick, and I love that so much. The principal hasn't come back in the story at all yet. I imagine he has to here, because this is the meaning of the two schools, but I really liked his personality. Thought he had a shitty power, just like Fushiguro, but I really like his personality. So I'd like to see him again. Speaking of shitty powers, I do like that Jujutsu is like generally really weak, because it just leaves so many creative possibilities with it. I touched on that in that episode with Principal, where I said the weaker your powers are, the more ways you can find to use them, because you have to make them work around to be able to fight and shit, to be able to compete with someone who is powerful. We still don't know what happens if like 5 different people eat a finger of Sakuna, if they're all Sakuna, and if the Sakunas all share a mind, or if they're all different Sakunas and they all have different motivations and different minds. Still don't have any answers on that. That's a big thing I'm still wondering about, that question. I don't mind Sakuna being the strongest curse anymore, because I can see where the series is going. Yeah, it sucks to know that no one's ever going to be stronger than him at the end, but as long as he doesn't get the 20 fingers, like before Mahito and Geto are destroyed and there's no one stronger and pulling their strings, then I guess that's fine. The good thing didn't seem to go anywhere. Oh, Hood. Yeah, I theorized at the beginning of episode 3, I think Hidori was complaining about his hood being like strenuous or something, and I thought that was a hint that the hood would be some kind of a special curse dampener or something. Didn't go anywhere, it wasn't anything, I guess it was just a random line. Who knew? We still don't know why Gojo has a blindfold. That has to be something, that has to be some kind of a suppression. Has to suppress his powers in some way. They have to have something to do with his eyes. I was right that curses are people, because since the very first one we see, I was like, why are they saying shit? They sound like they're acting like they were human. They're definitely not just created by rumors and shit. They're definitely people, so I was definitely right about that. Gege, whatever the fuck the mangaka's name is, loves drawing eyes and hands. I brought that up in damn near every video. It's just hands and eyes, just on everything. He just loves drawing them, drawing attention to them, making them center frame. So much that he had Mahito's hand in the front of a frame with an eye in his hand. That's how much this motherfucker loves drawing eyes and hands. I questioned when that child that Nobara saved, or Nobara, what the fuck is her name? I wrote it somewhere, didn't I? Nobara. It's Nobara, not Nobara. The kid that Nobara saves in episode 3. I said, what's going to happen to him? Because he can perceive curses, and he's had an encounter with a curse, and surely Jujutsu Tech is going to do something about that. They have to follow up eventually. The knowledge of curses isn't supposed to be like widespread, right? Because it could cause panic or some shit, I think. I don't know. But not everyone knows about it, and there has to be a reason that not everyone knows about it, so they gotta do something about this fucking kid, right? One day, eventually. I think we gotta recruit him, but we haven't been told anything about that yet. Never found out what the cursed womb is. You were told cursed womb must die was the name of the episode. We were told a cursed womb opens up in the prison. And then there's just curses everywhere in the prison, and there's the imperfect innate domain, and then a mindless curse with the Sakuna finger in there. The cursed womb had like a fucking baby in it. We don't know what happened to that. Does that create multiple curses? Did that create the special grade? The special grade was only special grade because I had a Sakuna finger, and I only had a Sakuna finger because Geto and them gave it one. So what the fuck is a curse womb? We aren't told. I was wrong about Fushiguro dying. I thought when we were told the first year had to die, there's no way they were going to do an Attack on Titan have the protagonist seemingly die, but they did. Itadori did die, but obviously he wasn't going to stay dead. I kept expecting the emotional gut punch for Itadori to come sooner than it did. It came in the form of Yoshino Junpei, or Junpei Yoshino, however it is said. I couldn't have predicted that another character would be introduced that Itadori would become friends with. Shit. I thought, for sure they were going to go with the best friend, who's his ally, or his mentor. Because generally that's what you would do. But I like what they did. I like what the mangaka did. It just wasn't what I was expecting. I do enjoy being surprised once in a while. Once again, I said that the government has no curses exist. If they're gonna, if the Jujutsu text gonna show up or in an 8 domain and tell people there's a gas leak and shit, and have the fire department's cooperation and police department cooperation, someone in the government has to know. There has to be a sect of government that knows about all this, that deals with this. Just like in Hellsing. Someone has to know about this, and I really want to see that aspect of it. I brought this up in multiple episodes. This series hates the idea of power scaling and having like a tier list. That's what I couldn't think of as a fucking tier list. That's what I wanted to say all those episodes. A fucking tier list. It hates the idea of a tier list because it just shits all over it. Just constantly people like, this is a special grade, I'm a special grade, and we're not on the same level. Oh my god, it's supposed to be a special grade, but it's so much more part, it's just like, fuck Christ. Just every fucking episode that there's a curse fighting a Jujutsu sorcerer, someone shits on the idea of a tier list and power scaling and shit. It's just like, fuck. I get it, you don't like it, but Jesus Christ. You could bitch about it a little less. Damn. Itadori being, I criticized the fuck out of this. Itadori being sent on like this important mission with no training. I said it's stupid and it's guaranteed to get him killed, and it turns out that was the point. It was the exact point. It was intentional that they sent him out there with no fucking training to find a special great curse, and it got him killed because that's what was meant to happen. Why Gojo allowed that to happen, I don't know. Because he definitely should have done something, put a stop to it. But he's been weirdly absent in a lot of times when he really needs to be around. Wondering why that is. There's something going on there. Because he already knows he can't trust the higher echelons of Jujutsu Tech. So, why let Itadori die? Why is he not hunting down Mahito? Especially after he knows not only couldn't defeat him, but what is he doing right now? Why is he absent from everything that's happening? It's just weird. I really, really miss Nobara and Itadori's dynamic. We only got to see it for a little bit of time, but they are so funny together. They just have such great personalities and play off each other so well. Sakura is definitely my favorite character just because of the way he acts, his confidence in a fight, the way he just talks down to everyone. It's weird that he sees so much potential in Fushiguro but isn't interested in the attained potential that Gojo represents. He wants to see Fushiguro grow, and I get that, but like, what about Gojo? Gojo's so fucking powerful. Gojo kicked his ass, and he doesn't seem to give a shit. So that's weird, but I just love his personality. The moment that he's just sitting there shitting on Itadori while Yoshino's dying is just so fucking great. that's probably my favorite fucking scene in this, like, first half of season 1. It's probably gonna be one of my favorite scenes in the series forever, especially a scene where him and Mahito were just laughing behind Itadori. That shit was just great. Sakuna is such a fucking great character. What just an evil dick. Itadori doesn't get to have his generic shonen moment where he succeeds because he wants to. He tried to succeed because he wants to, and he got his fucking hand cut off, and got his fingers burned off and shit. Tried to punch a thing and it couldn't do shit, and he was just a weak punk bitch who couldn't do a thing. So that's very good. It's very Attack on Titan, again, because that's the only thing I have to compare it to that does this, where, well, I guess it's not true. Another moment where a shonen protagonist was having their hero moment and they got fucked up was Ichigo trying to attack Aizen. Right? Aizen stops his Zanpakuto with his finger and cuts him. It happens in other series, but I really like that he doesn't get that. He does not get a moment where he just says a badass line and wins. He just doesn't. He's too weak. I like the fights in Jujutsu Kaisen. I think they're interesting. I think they're well made and stuff. I just wish that they had more focus. I hate that we see a little bit of a fight, we cut away to something else, and then we come back to the fight for a little bit, and then we cut away. It just burns your fucking patience. It kills any momentum it's building up. There's no reason to cut away from it. It's the climax. It's what people are here for. There's no fucking reason, especially when your protagonist is involved. There's no reason to cut away. Comes later, but, you know, just fucking, goddamn, just let me see the fucking fight. We're really glad that there were more special grade curses other than Sakuna, who were powerful and a threat. I wrote down this, I kind of already said this, I hope Itadori absolutely has to die in the series, and he kind of does. There's no way that they're going to back out on that. I don't know what the circumstances are going to be, but he absolutely has to die for Sakuna to die. I said, like, I hope they don't split, right? I hope Sakuna doesn't somehow split from Itadori, and then there's Itadori and Itadori Sakuna and shit. I don't think that's going to happen. Because it'd be a cop-out, and I don't think Gege, or whatever his name is going to do a cop-out like that. I think it'll be fine. I'm pretty sure we're just going to have a somber ending where Itadori accepts his death. I kind of wish it was a little more grounded and less over the top, and what I mean by that is I wish Jujutsu sorcerers weren't being thrown through walls and shit. I don't mind Gojo sending Jogo flying through the forest and shit, because Jogo's a curse, but seeing Sakuna fucking knock Fushiguro into the roof of a building and slamming him around and shit. Fushiguro should have been dead. We aren't told at all that fucking Jujutsu sorcerers are any more resistant to damage than a normal person. If they're veiling themselves with curse energy, that's fine, but we haven't been told that. We haven't been given any reason to justify it. So, I'm not a big fan of that. I like their curse faction a lot. I'm just wondering how they got so many Sakuna fingers, because they're supposed to be really rare and hard to find, and they just seem to keep pulling them out of their fucking ass. So I don't know what that's about. Wish we saw a lot more training, because the training just seems to be skipped over for the most part. Only training we've really seen is Itadori watch movies, and Nobara and Fushiguro training with the upperclassmen a little bit. Gojo versus Jogo was definitely my favorite fight. I wrote down moment, but it's not. My favorite moment was definitely Sakura and Mahito laughing at Itadori. But Jogo versus Gojo was definitely my favorite fight. It was a lot more streamlined, a lot more focused on, and just a lot better, in my opinion, than the other fights that we saw. Including Itadori versus Nanami, which was also focused on quite well. I don't know, something for it was missing to me. Probably the feeling of it being kind of, I guess it was back and forth. I don't know. I just enjoyed Jogo versus Gojo more. I absolutely want to see more of Gojo's powers, his infinity powers. I need to see him be challenged and struggle against an opponent. Probably gotta, again, wait to the end of the series to see Sakura fight him, to see him struggle at all. As much as I hate a fight like the Nanami versus Mahito situation, where it was like that fight and then switching over to Yoshino and Junpei's bullshit. Much as I hate that, I do like dual focus when we're not in fights. Like that way, in one episode we get to see what Itadori's doing with Nanami investigating Mahito, and then another episode we get to see Fushiguro and Nobara with the upperclassmen. I like that. I just, that's fine. Just don't do it during a fight. That being said, this is clearly the Itadori show, and the focus is almost always going to be exclusively on Itadori. I'm very curious what new abilities Nobara and Fushiguro will show off once the tournament arc starts. Because we know what Itadori can do with the Divergent Fist. He'll probably have a little better application of it, because we're probably having another time skip to this training arc, or tournament arc. But we haven't seen any of what Fushiguro and Nobara can do with their powers, really. And I'm expecting a big difference between how they were and how they're going to be. One person I'm super interested to see the future of in the series will be Maki, since I've already said she's probably going to be one of my top 5 favorite characters. Right now, I think it's the Sakura, Nanami, Gojo, Maki, and I don't know if I have a 5th yet. Probably Mahito. She's just really interesting. I said I want to learn a lot more about the cursed items and how they work with her, if they come at cost or anything. I'm curious about all that. Because they have cursed energy, so that has to be doing something with her body, whether it's going to start affecting and eating away at her body, or she'll start getting some of the cursed energy from it. I'm just interested to see what's going to happen with her. The characters are all just great and have their own personalities. They're very lively. They all stand out except Fushiguro. I really enjoy the characters. As far as Yoshino Junpei goes, it wasn't a terribly unique story. It wasn't groundbreaking, but it was compelling enough, and I enjoyed it. He's an important character to the story. You can tell he has a big impact on Itadori, despite him being around him for almost no time, just because of the way Itadori is. He's so fucking determined to help people, and helping Yoshino was completely stolen away from him. And despite his death, the series hasn't really killed anyone else. It's been him and his mom. And I think that's it for characters we know that have died so far. And the series feels really fucking dark for some reason. It's managed to feel dark without killing lots of people. And lots of people have died off screen. Mahito's turned so many fucking people into curses, but yeah. 13 episodes, only like 2 people died, and yet it feels super fucking dark. It's a sign of very good writing. Lots of philosophy discussions that I've been getting out of Jujutsu Kaisen, talking about money and like heart versus soul, and are people good or are they pricks or are they whatever. Can you kill people? The temptation of killing people, how temptations work, giving into temptation, on how it will just eat away at you forever if you give into it once, and all that shit. Just very interesting. I've already said Nanami and Mahito was really good fight. It just needed more focus. One episode should have been completely dedicated to them, and then the other episode should have been dedicated to Itadori and Yoshino. Regardless of whether or not that's how the manga did it, that's exactly how the anime should have done it. Because you just get drawn into a fight, drawn into a fight, drawn into a fight, and then you're taken out. And that's just, it defeats the purpose of what the fight is supposed to be, what a fight is supposed to be. I've already said Nanami's overtime punch, if he can hit Mahito with that, should really fuck him up pretty bad. Mahito seemed a lot stronger than he actually ended up being. He's definitely like the main antagonist for Itadori for the series. You know, Sakuna's going to be the final villain, but Mahito's like the primary antagonist. And despite that, he's not very strong, but that's cool because he'll grow with the series, kind of like a Tomoe Shigaraki situation from My Hero Academia, where we're going to watch the villain get stronger and the antagonist grow alongside the protagonist. Mahito's growing in different ways, and you know it's going to be very different, but it's still cool because it's still growing with him. I was rewatching the scene where I was questioning why the curse ate Mahito's mom and not the finger, and then it occurred to me maybe it was a human curse and Mahito ordered it to kill Yoshino's mom. So that could explain that. It would explain exactly why it didn't eat the finger and why it was seemingly gone. Why it didn't kill Yoshino was because Mahito was controlling it to manipulate the situation to get Itadori in position to get the pact between him and Sakura. That makes a lot more sense. Again, not a big fan of how much high school drama was being pushed during the Yoshino stuff. Like, I get it, it's high school shit, and there's assholes fucking with him, but goddamn, it was really just being pushed in our fucking faces. And it's like, I get it, fuck. There's a lot of subtext in the series. Like, a lot of things that aren't said, but are shown, and you know, can interpret it if you're really paying attention, or a character will say something and they mean something else by it. Goes back to what the Itadori's Seiyu said, like where a line can be interpreted so many different ways. Definitely, you know, big thing in this series. Heart versus soul was a really interesting theme. I still think my interpretation of it was right, that heart would mean someone's inherently good, whereas the soul would mean people are a blank slate. I think that was an accurate way to interpret it. I don't know. This is a very, very, very strong open for this anime. One of the best, like, first seasons I've seen. It's not even done yet, but just one of the best first seasons I've ever seen for an anime. It's made a huge statement. It needs to slow the fuck down, because the only reason this has worked out is just because it's going at a breakneck speed. You know, we've gotten like 3 or 4 fingers already. We've had a bunch of fights. We've seen the most powerful people in the series that are ever going to be there to fight already. And that's crazy as fuck, but it makes it seem like this is going to be over in a couple years. And I don't want that to happen. The series needs to slow down a bit, because characters are going to be getting too strong too fast. Itadori does not need to be eating fingers every 3 episodes. We just need to slow down, hit the brakes, and chill out, you know. There's no reason to be in a rush to get to the end already. But that being said, this was an effective way to make a statement, to go breakneck speed and, you know, ignore all the bullshit to get to the cool fights and shit. I don't mind getting to the cool fights fast, but at the same time, I want those fights to last me quite a while. Mahito versus Isidore and Nanami was the only fight I can really say that went on multiple episodes. Because Nanami versus Mahito really didn't, like, it was like the end of the fight was 3 minutes at the beginning of the next episode after its episode, so. Yeah, I don't know. Something for that fight was just missing for me. I don't know what aspect of it was missing that Gojo versus Jogo had. But I'll have to look a little more into that and figure out what it was that it was missing for me. But something about it just left me unsatisfied. It could just be the whole, like, Mahito has run away, well, I guess he didn't run away in the first one, but, like, that's 2 inconclusive fights with Mahito where people just leave. First Nanami leaves, and now Mahito left. And maybe that's it. I don't know. Fix the teacher thing. Oh, I already did. Yeah. I think Jujutsu Kaisen is going to be an incredible series. I already said it was one of the best opening seasons I've ever seen. Had very few criticisms of the series. Some criticisms I had, I've retracted just because as I've seen more episodes, I've come to realize that some of those things I thought were flaws were intentional. Still, the Nanami Mahito fight, I had one criticism that the posing and stuff was kind of awkward at times. They're fighting in the sewers. And I still hold on to that. That was a criticism, but I have very few criticisms of the series so far. My biggest criticism is it's going too fast. It needs to slow down. I'd like to see some training. I like to know why my characters are getting stronger, not just, and how they're getting stronger, not just that they are getting stronger. But yeah, I'm very excited to see where we're going to go with this tournament arc. And at the end of the season, I will review the second half of Jujutsu Kaisen. It's the first season. I'm going to name this like 1 out of 2, or part 1, or part 1 out of 2, I don't know, something like that. I think that's it. That's all I have to say on it. I guess I can go over, I already went over favorite character, favorite Jujutsu, probably Jogo's, his lava and shit is pretty cool. Favorite episode would be whatever episode Jogo and Gojo fought. It's like episode 7 or 8. I said favorite moment. Yeah. I can't think of anything else to say. I already fixed my whole, like, being an asshole to teachers thing, so that's it. Hopefully I can get a review of episode 14 out earlier than I normally do. It's been taking me a week on some of these.